100 years. 100 years of telling stories of ECU, Greenville, and the surrounding areas. Join me, Cannon Gates, station manager for WZMB 91.3 FM, and Trisha Rangaraju, the editor-in-chief of the East Carolinian, as we celebrate the East Carolinian's 100-year milestone on this audio journey. Welcome to this episode of the Century-Long Voyage podcast. In this podcast, we have a conversation with Caitlin Furr, who is a former editor-in-chief for the East Carolinian.
All right, well, just to begin, do you want to give us a little bit of background information about yourself, just a little introduction?
Sure. My name is Caitlin Furr. When I worked at the East Carolinian, when I was at ECU, my name was Caitlin Honeycutt. I am from Johnston County. I currently live in Smithfield. I graduated from East Carolina in 2013 and was a news writer for the state, for the paper for 2 years before being named chief. And then after I graduated, I worked in TV news for about 4 years and then pivoted whenever I got married. And I now work in school public relations. I work for Wake County School System now.
Yep. Gotcha. Just start off, what did your role as editor-in-chief involve, and what did the environment look like?
I oversaw the twice weekly production of Tech. We had production days twice a week as well. And we had a summer paper at the time too. I'm not sure if you still do or not, but we had a summer paper at the time. And we had the big issue at the same time. So oversaw all of the departments, making sure everything was turned in on time, everything was copy edited appropriately, made sure we had the right staffing. I was part of the staff before it was moved over to, before all student media was in one spot. So we were in the self-help building downtown. I was one of the last groups there, I think. And we didn't have as much of oversight. I don't know if that's the right word. Like, I don't mean that in a negative way, but we were more, our advisor wasn't as hands-on as the advisors are now, I would say. And there wasn't quite the same like rigorous process to become a writer for the paper as it is now. You had to apply and have references and things like that. But it didn't look the same now. I was part of the group who kind of like transitioned to the model that it is now.
So what specifically changed?
So we had more input from an advisor from the university. We had, and then after I graduated, so I was in this transition period. After I graduated, there was a new advisor who implemented, I don't know if they called it like an apprenticeship, but there was like a certain number of articles you had to write before you were a staff writer. That got implemented the year after I was chief.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. While you were kind of going through your journey of being editor-in-chief, did you learn anything about yourself?
Oh, definitely. One, I learned that like comms people are my people. Some of my very best friends to this day are people that I worked with at Tech. And I don't live in the same city as them. I learned, though, that people who work in news and who, especially in student newspapers, who are people who are not scared to use their voice, who are advocates for those who are around them. And those were people that I wanted around me. And they very quickly became some of my best friends. So I learned a lot about myself in that process of who I wanted to surround myself with, and how, no matter what, I want to use my voice for good.
What you already talked about, like changes that happened after you were editor and all that. What changes did you initiate personally while you were editor-in-chief?
So it was funny. Like, one of the things they talked about, they're like, "Do you want to change the masthead?" And I am such a nerd. I was like, "No." I liked the way that it was, and I am nostalgic over things. So there was this opportunity for me to do that. I did not want to do that. I liked that it had the same look and feel that it had for a while. We kind of changed up some things with pirate rants while I was there on how they could be submitted. This was also when Twitter was like the thing, before it was like X or whatever we want to call it now. this, and like Anon accounts were really big at the time. So we were competing with ECU Squirrels. Like, I don't know if that's still a thing or not, but they had this Twitter handle where they would just like basically do pirate rants all day long. And we were kind of just like wanted to still have our edge of like, this is one of the big reasons why people pick up the paper. So we implemented Twitter with that as well. I launched the Twitter for the paper and just tried to stay ahead of things because we were learning new stuff with social media.
Yeah, that's like still what I'm trying to do right now. Like I'm trying to like switch over to Instagram and start incorporating that. And
it's hard.
Trying to keep up with everything is so hard.
Yeah, it really is. And I was part of the team that launched the Tech mobile app. I don't know if y'all still use that or not, but I went through the process of procuring the vendor for that and implemented the mobile app when I was editor.
Wow, that's cool. What did the process look like when you were implementing the mobile app?
We had to go with the student advisory board and make sure that everything was with a vendor that we could use. And at that time, there was a lot of questions of like, do we really need an app? Is this something that we want to pay for? And we had to get approval from a lot of higher ups before we implemented it. We did a couple presentations and advocated why we thought it was important. And then from that, we launched it and we're good to go.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Would you have done anything differently if you could go back?
I might. So it was funny, the other day I was cleaning like my room out and I found all the copies of like the first one that I had something above the fold, or our first time like my name was printed as editor. I have all the memories of whenever I was at Tech, but I wish that I had done more to like document it for myself other than the actual physical paper. And I think it's because like that was like right on the cusp of when everybody did have a cell phone in their hands. So I don't have like a lot of pictures of late night production or that kind of thing, but I have the memories of it. I just wish that I had like more photos to go back on. But as far as like stories we ran and decisions we made, I think that we like, there were times where we had to make a tough call on like whether we should run something or not. And I was actually in an interesting position because I was the editor after I'm sure y'all have heard about the infamous streaker on the front cover. I was the editor right after that. So I felt like everything that we did was like under a magnifying glass, you know? And we stuck to our guns on some things and we didn't, you know, we used our voice for good. There was a lot that happened during that time, like political season. But I think we did a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, what advice would you give to someone stepping into an EIC role for the first time?
I would say have fun and trust your gut. There's going to be times where you're not sure about something, but trust your gut and realize that you are in a quote unquote position of power, that you have a voice on the campus and you represent in a way your student body, and you get to focus on the needs of your community and the needs of your peers. I also think that, you know, people might see it as like just a college newspaper, but I always want to take like that just out because it's, you know, the second highest circulated newspaper in the county. And that's, or at the time for us it was, and that's a big deal. So don't take your job lightly. Also don't take yourself too seriously. Enjoy your time, but also know that you're doing something that matters.
Yeah, that's definitely great advice. Yeah. And shifting a little more into specifics, how did you guys come up with ideas for your budget at the time?
So we didn't have as much involvement, I would say, as you do now. And I think that's part of what shifted in the model after me. So we had a certain allotment that we had for the amount that we could run and advertising. And they were kind of like two separate houses. And we knew that like they went hand in hand, but I didn't necessarily work as closely with them as it did after the fact. Like both people reported to our advisor. We didn't work as in step as much. But I think that was part of like how things shifted and kind of what we worked towards when I was there.
What were the biggest challenges you faced as editor-in-chief, and how did you overcome them?
So he's one of my dearest friends to this day. The biggest challenge for me was there was a guy who I worked with. He's phenomenal. He's still a writer to this day. He's one of the most brilliant writers I know, and he is wonderful at interviewing people. His name is Hunter Ingram. And we were both up for editor. We were good friends. And he had been at the paper a year longer than I had and had a editor position before I did. So I went from a news writer to editor-in-chief and got it over him. And he was then the copy editor under me. Like he was my right hand after that. But it was this weird transition of like he's exceptional at his job. We're friends, but now he wanted this position. We had to navigate that, and that was tough sometimes, but I really wanted to lean in on his expertise and make sure that everybody was giving their best self to the paper. Us being able to do that, I think, really helped. But that was hard because, you know, your friends and your peers and both people want this job and only one of you can get it.
So. And you're going from like friends and equals to like kind of being someone that
the boss.
Yeah. That is a hard transition. But I'm sure it was nice having him to like bounce ideas off of since he was still in a higher leadership position kind of with you.
Oh, and like to this day, if I'm writing something and I'm like, I'll call Hunter and I'm like, can you tell me what you think about XYZ? Because he's still in news writing. I'm not. But even if I was in news writing still, I would lean on him because he's incredible at that side of the shop. Like he's so good. He works for Star News in Wilmington and does so much for them.
Is there a specific like thing he writes for? Is he like a news writer?
He is film, TV, features. He has interviewed some of the coolest people and has gotten like on so many projects, and he's really, really talented.
That is cool. I might need to look him up.
He's a cool guy.
What was your favorite story that you've ever written for the East Carolinian?
So my favorite one I wrote, or my favorite one that I like assisted with?
Do both. Yeah, do both.
Okay, so my favorite one I ever wrote was the ECU Gunbrella Man. Do you know this lore?
No, I don't.
So.
Okay, so there was a threat of an active shooter on campus, and they shut everything down. And at the time, I was a news writer. So I left my apartment at the Bellamy and headed to campus because I was a news writer, you know. School's on lockdown for a long time. Everybody's, like I said, on Twitter talking about things that they've seen. And there was a report of a guy walking towards campus in like a black trench coat with a gun in his book bag. And like it was sticking up. So there's people sweeping the campus all over. We're working on getting stories. And long story short, it turns out this guy sees pictures of what like they thought was the gunman, and he had this custom umbrella and it had a samurai sword handle on it. And he inadvertently shut down the campus and like caused this national uproar. And he's just sitting in the library at the time, like waiting with everybody else to see what's happening. So we ended up covering it. He was embarrassed because obviously like that's kind of, you know, not great. But I ended up like hunting him down in a positive way and had a one-on-one feature with him afterwards, like what his experience was. And so that was really fun because it was a huge story. And it was also the time where like all these anonymous Twitters popped off, like the
Mhm.
ECU Squirrels one, like I referenced earlier. It sounds so dumb now, but it was like the perspective of ECU from the Squirrels account.
Mhm.
I mean, and it started with them on lockdown with the rest of us, and they were going to this guy to get information. So that one was really fun. And then as editor, I got to interview Barack Obama. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, what? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I had like 5 minutes on the phone with him during
Mhm.
his run for re-election, which was really, really cool. And then I got to meet Michelle Obama when she came to campus. So that was really...
Did you interview Michelle Obama too?
No, but I hugged her, which was like...
Wow. No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I tried to get an interview with Kamala Harris or Trump because they both came to Greenville area, but I couldn't.
It was
like the press process is insane. They don't let anyone near.
No, they used the gym for Mitt Romney and Michelle Obama to come. And because they used ECU's campus, we were able to to get a press pass no matter what. And then separate, I got to get on the phone call with him, which was pretty cool.
Wow. Was he nice?
He was so nice. It was really, really cool. Like I imagined him just chilling,
Cool.
Talking to us.
Are there any other like cool people that you've gotten to interview?
There was this, it's not cool now, but like at the time I thought it was really cool. MTV was coming to Greenville to do this show, and I still think I have his number. Yeah, from the producer from MTV. I still have his phone number in my phone from when he came. So like we worked with them like crazy for them to do casting and stuff like that, and what the show would be like. At first I was like, this is not real. But yeah, I worked with them.
They were doing that in Greenville?
Yeah, they were.
Wow. So they were casting in Greenville or they were filming the show in Greenville?
Both. I don't even remember what the show was called at the time, but they did some big show. We got like this behind the scenes with them, worked with their producers. It was pretty cool.
That is so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that was neat.
That's very cool. All right. Well, that's all the questions I have, unless you have some more.
Yeah, let's say if you just want to like basically close out the podcast, anything you just want to mention for any of our listeners?
I'm just happy people are still like on this side of things, like 10 years removed from ECU. It makes me happy to know there's, just people just as passionate as we were when we were there. It is very important right now for us to pursue freedom of speech and media, and I just applaud you all for the work you're doing and just keep it up.
We really do appreciate it, Galen.
Absolutely.
The East Carolinian proudly celebrates 100 years, marking a century of covering the stories of ECU, Greenville, and the surrounding areas. As part of this milestone, we invite you to join us throughout 2025 on a journey through our history. Our dedicated anniversary webpage offers a curated collection of nostalgic highlights, vintage articles, archive photos, and trivia. In addition to these weekly updates, the page serves as a gateway to exclusive 100th anniversary merchandise, including a commemorative planner and t-shirt design to honor this landmark occasion. Visit the eastcarolinian.com/100. Again, the eastcarolinian.com/100.